our guys are excited for the opportunity and the challenge. Questions?
Jim?
Coach, congratulations on Florida State getting back to a regional for the most times of any school and continuing that tradition. What did you think about the overall selection process?
Besides laughable, Jim, I really don't know what to say. I know there's a lot of folks that are shaking their head and things don't make sense. And, survive in advance. That's what it's all about from here on out. And, what they have to figure and what they apparently don't figure in and factor in, or I don't know. But there's a lot of teams that, are shaking their head. We're not. We're fine. This is, we're in. There's some teams I thought should have been in, some teams that got in that shouldn't be in. So, but the old saying, when you think it's not about politics, well, it is. So I can promise you that.
Chris?
Southern Miss, obviously a good ball club, almost won Conference USA. I think La Tech upset or beat them twice at the end to keep it. What is it about that ball club that stands out that from early impressions? I know you haven't done a lot of scouting yet on them.
Well, actually, we had. They were supposed to be our second weekend this year. And, with COVID and everything, we couldn't work it out. And so I know all about their program. They can flat out play. They're very similar to Ole Miss, and they can beat you in different ways. They can pitch it. They're athletic. They got 74 home runs. One of them, I think one's got 67, one's got 74. They're powerful, and, they're well coached, and they can play. They're kind of similar to what we are. We try to do different things, and if something's not on that day or that night, try to beat you in a different way.
Lane?
Are you expecting to go with Parker on Friday, and how big was his outing on against Miami to get back on track?
It was big. He pitched very well. But again, it's based upon rest and how they feel, and we don't know yet. The fact that Hub was going first because of Parker's little back issue, we may stay with that. It's all predicated on exactly how they feel and how many times they can get mound time to work on different things.
Corey?
Yeah, I was wondering, have you ever been to Oxford for a baseball series?
I have not.
What have you heard about it? And if you're playing Southern Miss, and then if you win that game, theoretically Ole Miss, you will have a decided road. You'll be decided under. There'll be a big crowd against you guys. How do you feel about that? Just going out there and being in what should be a really cool atmosphere and a really loud atmosphere.
Yeah, everybody's said it's very similar to the LSU and Arkansas. And obviously, we've been to those places. They're really into it. In right field, they did a home run, the beer shower, and all that. And it's a great college town. Everybody that I've spoken with says it's one of their top favorite venues to watch a game or to compete in. And nobody likes a crowd that sits on their hands, and they definitely don't.
Kurt?
You talked about excitement. Obviously, what can you say about your excitement level to finally get to go through this as a head coach? Obviously, last year being what it was and the unfortunate circumstances, you kind of had to wait almost 2 years on the job, even though you were a tournament team last year, to get this kind of head coach experience through the tournament.
Yeah, it's written above when the guys come out of the clubhouse. June. That's what we play for around here. Is how well you're going to play in June baseball. So, again, we're excited. We got to be able to manage our emotions and do what we can to keep crowds out of the ball game. If we get an opportunity to play Ole Miss, I'm sure Southern's going to travel with a pile of folks. So, all in all, we just got to stay in the moment, stay present.
Chris?
With regards to Swayze Field, as far as the dimensions and the field itself, what have people told you about how it plays?
Very similar to Hauser in that when it's warm, it jumps. When it's chilly, you got to hit it pretty good to get it out of there. So, their surface is plush. Again, you got some foul ground. You've got more foul ground than you do at Hauser. But, again, raucous crowd, great surface. And, I think the weather's supposed to be a cool front coming through. So, again, it's a fair place. It's not a situation where you're going to, Wake Forest and any ball that goes up in the air is a home run. So it's fair.
Lane?
How battle tested do you feel like this team is at this point? You've won some important games down the stretch.
Well, the fact that I think we're second in the country, most wins against top 25 teams. That most of them are on the road. That in itself, tell you, I feel good about my group and how tough they are mentally and physically. And, that's the couple other things. And you're like, why we're 3? So there's a lot of folks, shaking their head. But again, we knew we were going on the road. I hate it for Mike, and Link should have been a top 8. And I just, again, when I don't know what kind of representation we had from our league and on that committee, but there were some things that made you go,
Ryan?
Coach, actually, to kind of follow up on that, you mentioned it, only 2 selection sites for regionals, only 1 advances, Pitt's on the outside looking in, you're a 3. Do you feel like the ACC got singled out in the selection process?
Well, we'd say singled out. If you single us out, then you'd hope it'd be the other way. But I just, again, the guy from Stetson got on there and acted like, the eyeball test was, you go and look at it, they went straight down the RPI. And we had 5 less games than everybody else. We couldn't play out-of-conference games on the road, which sets you up for a bad RPI. And he says, we're not going to use it before the season. And they do use it. And then he gets on there and says, well, RPIs, and you can tell it's basically exactly what they did.
Corey?
Yeah, I mean, not to belabor the point, but you mentioned Mike, specifically Mike Bell. I get, he coached with you for a while. You're friends. How bad do you feel for him? Because it seems like out of all the college baseball analysts that were looking at it, Pitt was the one that really was the surprise of not getting into the tournament.
Yeah, they had a couple guys, banged up, and they had a little tailspin there at the end. But again, it's a long season, and they missed a series with COVID. I think it was Louisville that they didn't even play, so they didn't have their win total, and I think they're a couple games over 500. But you can ask anybody in our league; they're one of the best clubs in our league, and for them to be a top 20, chance host site to not even getting in, that doesn't make a lot of sense.
Kurt?
I don't want to get you in trouble, so if you need to plead the 5th on this one, that's fine. Is this something, with the ACC, you may have somewhat seen coming with the altered schedule, kind of way back when the schedule was announced at the start of the year?
We said every coach knew this is what was going to happen. If you don't get the cross-pollination and you're 6, we're playing 12 conference weekends. Everybody else is playing 10, unless you're, the Big Ten and a couple others. But, and you don't get cross-pollination, your RPI is never going to work out. And so if we had a normal year and we got to play at least our 6, okay, we want to play 12 conference series, fine, but let us play our full allotment of games and play 6 out of conference games and go on the road and play somebody. Then, we're not in this. The whole league isn't in this. And it was a bad move, plain and simple. It blew up in our face.
Anything else for Coach? Okay.
Thanks, guys.